I'm just sick. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this, Lisa. I'm ready to. I think I'm ready.
What are you sick of?
Trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know. Every time I've talked to you before, and I know a couple times, and just I hold back. I would say, what should I say?
Yeah. So you're sick of being
freedom.
Yeah. And so you want freedom, and you're sick of suffering. Where do you feel that in the body?
The solar plexus.
Yeah. Like you're tired of it. That's what the solar plexus does, is it's like this sense of frustration, this exhaustion, this feeling like it can't go on. It's not actually what you think, or what it is what you think, but it's not actually true. It's what you think and feel now, so it's your truth. But it's actually like it's like a part of your body that's gone off balance, and it's just repeating thoughts. Just like if you eat bad food, you get like gut problems, or you get diarrhea or something. At the moment, what's happening is your solar plexus is in pain, it's in the negative, and so it's producing thoughts that you can't do, and that you'll fail, and it's exhausting and tired, and that you can't keep living your life. But right here, right now, what life are you actually living? Where is your life?
Yeah.
You don't have a life here. The only reason that it feels like you can't be bothered to leave your life, or that it's too hard, and which is only something that you're feeling currently, tomorrow it might be completely different. You might feel open and expanded again. But currently you're feeling that. The only reason you do is because one of your filters has gone up. So the solar plexus is producing certain ways of thinking. And then you think that that's true, that that's about your life, that you actually are exhausted with your life. And then you imagine events which exhaust you, like your job, or like your partner, or your children, or whatever it is that in your life is difficult, or producing money, or trying to survive. You imagine difficulties. Mm-hmm. And then it feels tight and contracted, and it feels like you've got a life like that, whereas actually all you've got is this moment, and in this moment there isn't a problem, and there isn't actually suffering. But what's happening in your body is you're identifying with the story of you, and your story always has good and bad stories.
It seems nowadays it opens and closes really fast.
Yeah.
You know, like it could be open like 2 seconds ago, and then it's super tight, and then it opens again 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
But it's like it doesn't open all the way. Almost, it's like almost, and then.
Yeah. And is that and do you believe that it can open all the way, or do you believe that it's never going to work for you?
Both.
Yeah, it changes. Yeah. So it's just seeing all of this, like all these fluctuations. But what remains is presence. And it's just staying still in that presence. So it comes in, it opens, and lots of bliss is released, it closes, and lots of hell is released. And yet here is presence, here you are, and it's staying still in that. It's this addiction to story making and formulating a story around who you are. You're only ever dealing with life in this moment, and this life is free of everything.
And I have a lot of addictions too, like drinking. I haven't drunk in a couple of days, but I was drinking every day.
Yeah.
Marijuana. I haven't smoked in a couple of days. I'm being honest, actually.
Yeah. No, that's great, because that's going to totally kick the solar plexus out of balance, because the two organs with the solar plexus, this is according to Chinese medicine and some Indian theories as well, but the two organs that are related to that is the gallbladder and the liver. So when you drink and when you smoke pot, what you're irritating is the gallbladder and the liver, which will produce more solar plexus thoughts. They're all connected in the system, in the meridians and the energy points, and it will produce more thoughts like that. So I don't know if you noticed this, but if you drink alcohol, the next day you might be more angry or more grumpy, and anger is associated with the solar plexus, and frustration is associated with the solar plexus. It's all deeply connected, and it's way more intricate and delicate than what we imagine it to be. But everything that you do in your daily life is activating and deactivating certain energy points, and that's giving your experience. And then you collect all that information and you believe that's a separate entity called you, whereas actually it's just a response to life that's happening, and it's nothing personal. So with the addictions, then I really recommend a teacher called Paul Hederman. I think he has a book about addiction.
I do watch him.
Yeah.
I watched all of his videos, yeah.
Oh, nice. And I think he also has a book about it as well. And I really recommend programs like AA. I've never done it myself, but I hear really positive things about having this community and this group and people helping you. It's going to make your life harder having addictions if you do them.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, it's not down to you to stop it. It's something that stops, but it's like God's will, it's grace. But if you have a life filled with addictions, it's going to make your emotional body, your body unbalanced, your system unbalanced, your emotions unbalanced. Having disbalanced emotions will make complications with your relationship with work, with relationships with lovers. Addiction can be a bodily thing. It can be something that's hereditary. Most of the time it is, but it is also a way of checking out of life. Like it's a way of checking out of emotions and feelings and complexities of life. And it's not going to work. You have to deal with what's happening right now, the feelings of what's happening of right now, right here in the moment. So if you're feeling frustration, feeling it. If you're feeling bored, feeling it, rather than drinking alcohol to get rid of that. Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh yes, it would be funny if you'd gone just off on a rampage speaking.
No, I'm battling my thoughts. I mean, I listened. I stopped listening because I was thinking so hard, and I was like, God, I'm trying to listen, and then.
And what's happening in your body? Sorry, here on him.
I heard you say you have to deal with that. You have to face that.
Yeah, and what's happening in your body right now? Predominantly, what's happening. I mean, I do think that addiction is a biological thing, but I think a lot of the time when you're identified with your addiction, it's about trying to escape the present moment. And actually, through drinking alcohol, in some way, you do lose your sense of self. You forget about yourself. Mm-hmm. So it is like relaxing in some way from that seeking energy. But what is it that you feel right now? What's your body saying? Is your body happy or tense or stressed?
I guess it's kind of like bored.
Bored.
Or anxious.
Yeah.
Bored, anxious.
Yeah. And boredom often comes, it's a habit again, boredom. It's not a fixed thing. It often comes if you've got like high intelligence or high energy or something and it wasn't satisfied, but it is a habit and it's not true. And it's also a detachment from this moment because there's so much happening here. Like sometimes this boredom, this sense of dis-ease with the moment is that there's something better that you should be doing, something exciting, like looking for that next high, looking for that next dopamine release where you experience something better or higher or more exciting. Whereas this is actually enough, believe it or not. This is really quite miraculous as the focus goes more onto what's happening rather than onto you. Mm-hmm. But it's quite common that somebody with an addictive personality experiences a lot of boredom, like a lot of agitation, because what you're agitated with what's happening and you're associating happiness and you're associating joy and what you want with a dopamine release, with a excitement. Mm-hmm. And so this moment is completely unexciting because there's nothing special happening, or there is something really special happening.
I guess I'm closing up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I'm like
okay.
running. I'm like, my mind's like doing all these things to block me.
Yeah. You can listen back to this talk, but it's okay to close up because actually your essence isn't closed up because there's still this moment. There's still what's happening, and what's happening is vast and spacious and infinite, and no thing appearing as everything. So there's still this consciousness, this aliveness, this presence. But in that, the focus is on you and your emotional body, and your thoughts are closing down, and then you believe that's you and you believe that's true. So just see all of that, just notice and recognize what's happening.
Okay.
Just see that it's totally impersonal. You're not doing anything wrong or right. It's just happening. The body's closing in this space. And notice that this space is really vast, as far as you can see, as far as you can feel, as far as you can hear, as far as you can smell. And that's what's actually experiencing now, is this moment, this presence. It's experiencing itself, it's conscious of itself, and it's not separate from itself. And then there's this person that's small vessel in the middle, saying, this is me, this is my life, and I'm not happy now. I want to feel pleasure now. I don't want to feel this. And just let it happen. The way you trick it is by just doing the opposite to what it's saying. You let it happen rather than the seeking's like, run, 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 alarm.
Mm. Wow. Well, that worked for a second.
But just even notice how your mind looks for when it works and when it doesn't. Like your mind is analyzing, when I'm there, when I'm not. And just notice
Okay.
that's a mind. That's the mind, that's thoughts that come and go. And then there's still presence right here. But your mind is like jumping on it, like wanting an experience. And notice that's a small part of the experience. There's so much more happening here. But then the energy is narrowly focused on you. Like, so when you're deeply suffering, you do feel contracted, you feel small.
And there's a lot in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. I feel like I'm freeing the whole world. I mean, that's probably a little bit of ego that's left saying that. But that's what it feels like, I guess.
What do you mean carrying the whole world?
No, freeing. Like it's yeah, I messed it up. But not really, you know. Like I feel like a lot just emptied, and there's a lot more. It's just there's just like all of it is just there. Like there's nowhere. There's just so much of it, and it's not good or bad. It just is there.
Yeah.
You gave me that space, and I felt like I was taking up everyone else's space.
Oh, yeah.
And I was jumping around with that, and then I realized you were that's it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Wow. How do I not mess this up? I mean, I guess
You can never mess it up. There's never been you that's acted. You never did anything. You can never mess anything up. There's been impulses that have arisen, which are a series of events that have dated back right to the Big Bang. Your impulses are never yours. They come from what seemingly came before, everything that came before. And then you claim it to be something about you, but it's like a domino effect. It's like all these dominoes going off, and then you act and you say, that's my act, I did something. In the story of things, there is endless effect and cause and effect, like endless, and there's nobody that did anything. But then in this moment, if you examine what's happening, you also see that you never wrote in your impulses, you never wrote in your choices. You couldn't have ever done anything but what you did. Like, choice is a really amazing thing. We always think, because choice comes with two options, we always think we could possibly do something else. But have you ever experienced doing something else? You've never experienced making a different choice. You've only ever experienced the choice that you've made, and then regret or guilt or pride or happiness about that choice. But there's only one choice that's ever going to be made, and that's dependent on life, not you. There is no you. There's life happening. There's impulses arising, and nobody ever really makes a mistake on the ultimate level. We have the idea of mistake in society in order to be able to control groups, in order to be able to live together. So we have these rules of like getting your car MOT'd, I don't know what you call it in America, or controlled technique in France, so that it doesn't kill people by driving a death trap on the motorway. And then we have rules like the way we treat the opposite sex, or the way we treat children, or the way litter, what we do with litter, how we live in a community. But these rules don't define us. They define the society we live in. They define the collective consciousness. There's nothing that defines us. We are this moment with impulses arising. You can't mess it up. I know that most probably as an addict, like there's this enhanced sense of guilt. And I think when you're in recovery, they do use this idea of choice, and I don't know how recovery works. And it's a technique in order to help you stay sober, but it's not on the ultimate level true that there's somebody guilty. There's somebody that lost control or didn't lose control. But in the relative world, when you're doing the program, it's good to buy into their rules and their way of seeing things, but you can't mess up. Ever. Everything you do is the butterfly effect. It's taken everything else for it to happen, which is really magical. But nice. Maybe we move on now, because I've been talking a long time.
Thank you very much for giving me that space.
That's my pleasure. Thank you, William, for calling in and being so open.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Talk
Bye.
to you soon. Bye.